Okay, so let's unpack this. If you walked into like the headquarters of any major corporation back in the late 1970s, you'd find these massive floors just filled with hundreds of people sitting at these highly specialized mechanical desks.
Right, the comptometer operators.
Exactly, the comptometer operators.
Right.
And their entire professional existence was just manually punching numbers into these heavy, clacking calculating machines to run the company's daily math.
Yeah.
But then, almost overnight, digital spreadsheets arrived. Things like VisiCalc and, Excel.
Yeah.
And that specific, highly manual job, it just vanished from the earth.
It was completely wiped out. But the interesting thing is, office work didn't actually end, did it?
Right. We just stopped being human calculators, and, well, we had to figure out how to be analysts instead. And today, we are standing on the exact same precipice with artificial intelligence.
We really are. The parallels are just striking because the underlying technological shock is identical. I mean, for the last couple of years, the narrative has been so dominated by this breathless apocalyptic panic.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So robots are coming for our jobs thing.
Exactly. We've been told they're marching over the hill to replace human intelligence entirely. But, the reality on the ground is much quieter. And it's much more practical. AI is simply showing up in the retail inventory software you use or the hospital administration system you log into.
Or just the spreadsheet you're using to track warehouse shipping, right?
Yeah. It's transitioning from this theoretical sci-fi concept to just a mandatory piece of your ordinary daily workflow.
And that transition is the entire focus of our deep dive today. Our mission here is to completely strip away the Silicon Valley hype and, that lingering sci-fi anxiety. We are looking squarely at practical competence for you, the ordinary working adult.
Which is so needed right now.
It really is. We want to figure out how to steer this technology before it gets forced onto your desk, badly. And to do that, we're leaning heavily on a brilliant, totally jargon-free book called Staying Ahead of AI, a practical guide to using AI at work and daily life. It's by George M. McKenna.
It's a great resource. And what's fascinating here is the central thesis McKenna presents. It's incredibly grounding. He argues that we really have to stop treating AI like it's either a magical oracle or some monster hiding under the bed.
Right. It's neither.
No, it is fundamentally just a tool. And until we demystify how that tool actually operates under the hood, we're going to use it poorly. And we're going to stress ourselves out in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we break down exactly how to use that tool, I need to share some genuinely urgent, highly practical news for anyone listening right now. McKenna is actually running a promotion. This book is completely free on Kindle right now.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
Yeah. It's a 5-day window running from Monday, May 18th to Friday, May 22nd, 2026. And if you happen to be in the UK, that's roughly 8 a.m. Monday to 8 a.m. Saturday. You just search the title, Staying Ahead of AI, or if you want the exact A on it, it's B0FY46SNK7. The author is giving it away because he sees this massive gap opening up.
People are just getting left behind.
Exactly. Too many professionals are being pushed into the AI age completely unprepared, and he wants to arm people with actual competence. So definitely go download that. But let's dive right into the core of the book, because the first step to using this technology is unlearning everything the movies taught us about it.
Which is harder than it sounds.
Yeah. But McKenna uses this analogy that completely rewired how I picture software. He calls AI the blind craftsman.
Yes. It's such a profound way to separate the output of the machine from actual human consciousness. I mean, we tend to look at a beautifully written paragraph generated by AI and assume there's a thinking, feeling mind behind it.
Right, because it sounds like us.
Exactly. But the blind craftsman analogy dismantles all that. Imagine a person who has been completely blind and deaf since birth, but who possesses the superhuman ability to process mathematical data.
Okay, tracking with you.
If a thunderstorm rolls in, this person cannot see the lightning flash. They can't hear the thunderclap. But they can perfectly measure the barometric pressure dropping. They can track the thermal changes in the air, the wind velocity, the static electricity building up.
So they build a perfect mathematical model.
Right. An incredibly complex, flawless model of a thunderstorm without ever actually experiencing the storm.
Wow. So if I ask an AI to write, like, a descriptive poem about biting into a fresh apple, it doesn't have taste buds.
Oh, of course not.
It doesn't know the crunch or the sweetness or the sticky juice on your fingers. It just knows, mathematically, that the word apple sits very close to the words crisp, red, and sweet in its massive database of human language.
That's exactly it. It is linking data points, not memories. That is the core mechanism of the technology. It lives entirely in the gap between data and experience.
That's wild when you really think about it.
It is. And McKenna builds on this by pulling in this fascinating historical parallel from the 1940s, the cargo cults.
Oh, I've heard a bit about this.
Yeah, so during World War II, Allied forces set up these temporary air bases on remote Pacific islands. They built control towers, brought in planes, and unloaded massive amounts of cargo, food, supplies. But when the war ended, the militaries packed up and left.
Right, they took all the good stuff with them.
Exactly. So some of the islanders, wanting the cargo to return, began building these replica control towers out of bamboo. They carved wooden headphones to wear over their ears, and they waved wooden landing signals at the empty sky.
Oh, man. They copied the physical look of the airbase down to the smallest detail, hoping it would just summon the airplanes.
Right, but they didn't understand radio frequencies or aerodynamics. They perfectly mimicked the form without possessing any of the underlying function.
And that's what AI is doing.
Yes. AI operates in a shockingly similar way when it comes to human intelligence. Because it has ingested trillions of words from the internet, it is phenomenally good at mimicking the form of our reasoning, our empathy, our logic. But there's no actual comprehension happening in the processors. McKenna refers to it beautifully as a mirror polished by statistics.
A mirror polished by statistics. I love that. And honestly, taking that perspective changes everything about how you interact with it at work. Like when you realize it's just a statistical mirror reflecting human language back at you, the fear kind of just evaporates.
It really does. You realize you aren't competing with a rival intelligence.
Right. You're just trying to figure out how to angle a mirror to reflect something useful for your 9-to-5 job, which means, the burden shifts back to us. We have to learn how to brief this thing.
And treating it like a highly literal, overeager new apprentice is really the most effective mental model you can adopt. Imagine an intern who works at the speed of light, never sleeps, and has read every book in the library.
Sounds great so far.
But possesses absolutely zero common sense or social context.
There's the catch.
Right. And this leads directly to a phenomenon McKenna calls the polite parrot problem.
Yes. Let's dig into the mechanics of the polite parrot, because I think this is where so many people get tripped up when they try to use AI to test their own ideas.
Yeah. So the foundational programming of most consumer AI systems is designed around helpfulness and user satisfaction. Statistically, users rate an AI poorly if it argues with them or if it refuses to answer.
Makes sense. We like to be told we're right.
Exactly. Therefore, the mathematical weight of the system heavily leans toward agreeing with the premise of your prompt. So if you type in a half-baked, deeply flawed proposal for a new marketing campaign and ask, "Is my business plan perfect?"
It's not going to tell you it's terrible.
No. The AI interprets its job as validating your text. It'll happily chirp back, "Absolutely, this is a visionary approach." It just mirrors your own confidence back at you, smoothing over the critical flaws because its primary function is to be a pleasing conversational partner.
But wait, let me push back on this entire concept of prompting for a second. Because, you're making it sound like a complicated science. For years, I've just treated search boxes like Google. I type in fragments like write email to Dave Q 3 numbers and I hit enter. Are you saying that approach is actively dangerous when we use AI?
It is the single fastest way to get terrible, generic, or wildly inappropriate results.
Really? Just treating it like a search engine?
Yeah, because a search engine is just a librarian pointing you to a pre-existing book. And AI is actively generating new text based on the parameters you set. So a prompt is not a question, it is an engineered instruction set. If you don't build fences around the apprentice, it will just wander off into the woods.
Okay, so how do we build those fences?
Well, McKenna lays out a strict 4-part formula for this. You have to specify the what, the who, the how, and the how long.
Okay, so what is the actual task? Like summarizing a 40-page PDF report.
Right. And the who is the target audience. Are you summarizing this for a room of highly technical software engineers, or are you explaining it to an entry-level intern?
That drastically changes the output. And then the how establishes the tone, right?
Exactly. You need to explicitly state whether the output should be formal and academic or, casual and persuasive. And finally, the how long creates the structural limits. Keep it under 3 paragraphs. Use bullet points.
Right, right.
If you apply that formula, you constrain the AI's mathematical probabilities. You force it to generate a highly specific, useful tool rather than just a generic wall of text.
And you also have to be incredibly careful about the human quirks we take for granted. I was laughing so hard at the book's specific warning about using metaphors.
Oh, the smoking gun example.
Yes. We use figures of speech constantly without thinking about them. Wow. But the AI lacks lived experience, so it processes everything at face value. If you're drafting an internal email about a project failure and you tell the AI, we need to point the smoking gun at the management team, the software's safety filters might just completely panic.
Because the system is scanning for words associated with danger or illicit activity, it isolates pointing and smoking gun, and because it lacks the contextual understanding of corporate idioms, its internal alarms trigger.
It literally thinks you're planning a crime.
Yeah, it assumes you are planning real physical violence, and it will shut down the conversation to prevent harm.
It ducks for cover. And the fix for this is hilariously simple, but it highlights exactly who is in charge. You just type into the prompt, metaphor, not literal.
Okay.
You literally have to hold the hand of a multi-billion-dollar supercomputer and explain human figures of speech to it. It proves that you are the essential supervisor here.
But the danger actually multiplies when you master this prompt engineering. Once you provide the what, who, how, and how long, the AI is going to hand you back a document that reads beautifully.
Oh, yeah. The grammar is perfect.
Right. The structure is professional, the tone is spot on, and at that exact moment, human psychology works against us. We stop treating the machine like an apprentice and start treating it like an oracle.
We transition from simply getting answers to assuming those answers don't need to be verified. And I feel like this is where the real workplace disasters happen.
Oh, absolutely. McKenna categorizes this behavioral trap as the confident gambler.
Right.
You see, AI systems do not possess a mechanism for self-doubt.
They never second-guess themselves.
Never. They never pause and say, I don't actually know the answer to that. They are playing the world's most sophisticated game of autocomplete. They look at your prompt and calculate the mathematical probability of the next word and the next and the next.
So when they get it wrong.
When an AI hallucinates, which is just the tech industry's dramatic term for generating creative nonsense, it delivers that nonsense with absolute, unshakable certainty. It has the calm, projecting authority of a university professor who has never actually sat an exam in his life.
Right. And because it's generating text based purely on statistical likelihood from its training data, we run straight into the issue of bias.
Yeah.
Because AI isn't born neutral in a sterile vacuum. It only knows what humanity has uploaded to the internet.
Yeah, the pub parrot analogy.
Yes. McKenna uses this brilliant visual. If you leave a parrot in a cage in the corner of a rowdy pub for a year, that bird is going to repeat the pub's loudest opinions, the prejudices, the arguments.
Right.
If you train a statistical model on the entire internet, it is going to reflect the internet's dominant blind spots right back at you.
Exactly. Which leaves the ordinary worker in a really tough spot.
Yeah, because if I'm using this tool to save time drafting a complex policy, and it hands me a document that sounds incredibly professional but might be hallucinating facts or, leaning on subtle biases, I don't have 3 spare hours to go line by line fact-checking it. Doesn't the burden of verification kind of defeat the purpose of using the tool to save time?
It creates a massive bottleneck if you try to do it all manually, yes. But McKenna outlines a highly practical, incredibly clever hack to bypass this problem. You make the machines mark each other's homework.
Oh, I love this. You leverage their infinite patience against each other.
Exactly. You create a little digital editorial board. If you use one AI platform to draft your data analysis, you copy that entire output and open up a completely different AI system.
Okay.
You paste the first draft into the second system, but you engineer a very specific new prompt. You instruct the second AI. Act as a highly skeptical editor and fact checker. Review this text, flag any weak logical leaps, point out potential biases, and verify the structural claims.
That's genius.
Because you have explicitly ordered it to be critical, you bypass the polite parrot problem entirely. It won't flatter you. It will tear the document apart mathematically, highlighting exactly where the first system guessed or hallucinated. Half of competent AI use in the modern office is simply learning how to audit.
Wow. Okay, so we understand the mechanisms. We know it's a confident gambler playing autocomplete. We know we have to engineer our prompts, and we know how to audit the results. Let's get down to the actual brass tacks of surviving a Tuesday afternoon in the office. Because, I know people who spend 35 minutes tweaking an AI prompt to write an email that would have taken them 10 minutes to just type out themselves.
Oh, McKenna refers to that specific trap as the infinite revision loop.
Yes.
It is a massive drain on workplace productivity because the machine never runs out of words, it never gets bored, and it never gets tired of generating variations.
But you run out of hours in the workday.
Right. If you ask it to rewrite a paragraph 50 times, it will happily comply, and you will have accomplished absolutely nothing.
To combat that, the book introduces the kitchen timer rule. And I think this is the most grounded piece of advice in the whole text. You are not hanging out with a friend. You are operating a power tool.
Set a physical timer on your desk.
Yes. Give yourself a strict limit. If you ask the AI to improve a specific draft twice, and the third variation it spits out is structurally identical to the second, you are done. Walk away from the keyboard. In daily business communication, perfection is a myth. Clarity is enough.
Establishing those firm boundaries prevents the tool from becoming a time sink. But there's another strategy McKenna details that serves as a massive time saver for those moments when clarity just feels impossible to achieve on your own. He calls it the tidy this prompt.
Oh man, this might be the single best takeaway from my own daily workflow. Think about being at your desk. It's 4:30 p.m. Your brain is just entirely fried, but you desperately need to send a project update to your team.
It's the worst feeling.
You end up typing this chaotic, messy brain dump into a blank document. It's full of half sentences, typos, industry jargon, train of thought rambling. Instead of staring at the blinking cursor, paralyzed by trying to make it sound professional, McKenna says you just copy that entire mess, drop it into the AI, and give one simple command. Tidy this for me.
It is remarkably effective because it leans directly into what the mathematical model is actually good at: pattern recognition and syntax formatting. It takes the raw, messy material of your actual human thought and applies grammatical structure to it in seconds.
It clears away the administrative friction.
Right. It slows us down less, allowing you to focus on the ideas rather than the formatting.
But, and this is crucial, the book draws an incredibly hard line in the sand right after that. It establishes the absolute golden rule of surviving the AI transition at work.
Human ownership.
Yes.
This principle is entirely non-negotiable. If you utilize an AI to format an email, draft a financial report, or write a block of code, and that final product contains an error or a hallucination, you cannot pass the blame.
The machine did it.
Yeah.
Is not going to fly.
No, it's not a defense that will ever work with your manager, your clients, or a legal team.
If you put your name at the bottom of the document, you own every single mistake inside it. AI can automate the typing, but it cannot automate the accountability.
And that distinction really illuminates the broader reality of our changing economy. If the software is now capable of doing all the drafting, all the summarizing, and all the tidying up of our messy thoughts, we have to ask what is actually left for the human worker.
What is our enduring advantage?
Right.
This is the part of the deep dive that actually made me feel profoundly optimistic, because it's so easy to look at the headlines and feel like we're being hollowed out. You know, like our skills are becoming irrelevant.
But they aren't. McKenna frames our enduring value by pulling us back into the physical, consequential world. An AI model can rapidly calculate the exact load-bearing stresses required for a suspension bridge. It can analyze thousands of data points to suggest the perfect composite materials. But it cannot walk into a workshop and smell the sawdust. It doesn't know what the subtle drag of a brush on canvas feels like. A seasoned tradesperson knows when a weld feels right under the hand. AI has no instinct.
Because instinct isn't math. Instinct is forged through millions of years of biological evolution. It's burnt fingers, it's decades of lived physical experience. AI doesn't have nerves or adrenaline or a beating heart.
Exactly. It can make our administrative processes infinitely faster, but only people can make those processes matter. Only humans understand consequence.
Wow.
When a human makes a decision at work, they understand how it impacts their colleagues, their community, and their own reputation.
Yeah.
The statistical mirror has no stake in the real world.
So what does this actually mean for you listening right now? It means we are collectively living through a massive historical shift from routine work to reasoning work. The repetitive manual formatting is being automated away, just like the comptometer machines.
But human judgment, empathy, and the ability to steer the ship are becoming vastly more valuable.
Exactly. There is no excuse to bury your head in the sand and not prepare yourself for this shift. Which brings us back to the core mission of George M. McKenna's book, Staying Ahead of AI.
It is fundamentally about replacing your anxiety with practical, actionable competence.
And I am going to remind you of the promo details one more time because this is the exact resource you need right now. The book is currently completely free on Kindle. The promo window is strictly 5 days long. It runs from Monday, May 18th to Friday, May 22nd, 2026.
Right.
For our UK listeners, that kicks off around 8 a.m. on Monday and wraps up at 8 a.m. on Saturday. The author is giving this away because the modern workplace is transforming today, right now, and this guide provides the exact confidence you need to adapt and thrive. Just search for Staying Ahead of AI in the Kindle store. Or, again, the ASEM is B0FY46SNK7.
Taking a couple of hours to read it will fundamentally alter your relationship with the software that is actively reshaping your industry. When you really understand the tool, practical understanding will beat panic every single time.
Every single time. Now, as we wrap up our deep dive today, I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. Something that builds on the very mechanics we've been exploring here. We established that AI is, at its core, a mirror polished by statistics.
Right.
It possesses no original thoughts, no hidden agendas, and no consciousness. It only knows what it has learned from us. It ingested our books, our published articles, our internet forums, and our daily social media arguments.
It is the ultimate, unfiltered reflection of humanity's collective digital footprint.
So the next time you are sitting at your desk using an AI tool and you find yourself getting incredibly frustrated, maybe it generates an answer that is heavily biased, or filled with meaningless corporate waffle, or confidently states something that is completely factually wrong. Stop and ask yourself what that actually says about the human communication it learned from. Next time the AI frustrates you, ask yourself, is the machine broken, or is it just showing us exactly who we are?